I'm co-host James Ash.
And I'm co-host Phil Scaife.
Welcome to the Business Lockdown. So welcome to today's Business Lockdown, none other than Jamie Catto. Jamie Catto facilitates professional, personal and creative breakthroughs, drawing from his own processes in groundbreaking film production, philosophy, voyages and music. There's a few quotes, a few testimonials that are pretty spectacular on his website, which I'll run through now. Warning, prolonged exposure to Jamie Catto could blow your mind. Daily Telegraph. Jamie Catto is a positive force in the world, and we're proud to have him as our friend. Noam Chomsky. Jamie Catto is kind, wise, open, boundlessly energetic, optimistic, and passionate. I adore him. Mr. Stephen Fry. And Jamie Catto is a human icebreaker with a prow of determination and a motor of love slicing through the frozen seas around us. That's Tom Robbins. His Wikipedia states James David Catto is a British musician, video director, photographer, and script editor. And what Phil and I are incredibly excited about today, to delve a bit deeper into, is because Jamie was none other than a founding member of Faithless. Well, Jamie Catto, welcome to the Business Lockdown. How are you doing?
I am medium. It's pretty raw. It's Catto, not Cato, just so that you get that.
Catto, Jamie Catto. Well, welcome to the Business Lockdown.
Thank you very much.
We are looking forward to today's episode and delving deep. You are certainly a creative being. We're super fans of Faithless and was certainly brought up in that era. Can we start there? Take us back to how that came about and your journey with Faithless and music to date, Jamie.
It's not that, it was just, Rollo wanted to make an album which was very one didn't do it in those days, mix different styles on one record, house music, ballads, hip hop. Everyone in the business was like, where are they going to rack it? But he wanted to do it anyway. It was a little side project for everyone on Cheeky Records. So he brought in all of us, all the different artists from the label. And then, of course, it did nothing for the first year. And then by some miracle, and this is what happens in business, you do all your work over there and then the great breakthrough comes from over here, seemingly disconnected, The gay people, the wonderful gay people of Munich decided that Insomnia was the track they wanted for their Love Pride March in whenever that was, 95, 96. And suddenly it was number one everywhere in the whole universe, and then everything else happened after that. It's just some random event just made nothing turn into something.
Incredible. And that was, what is there a moment that stands out between that journey? So was it between 90 to 90?
Well, just sharing a room with Maxie for the first few years before we were enormous. I mean, for the first year or two, we used to share rooms in the bus. And so, me and Maxie were the elders of the group. We were kind of older than everyone else. So we were just off to the interviews together, off here together, off there together. And just sharing that time with him and becoming close friends and talking about Buddhism and beats and badass thing and, laughing our heads off all the time and keeping the energy thrilling but not meaningful was always a very big front and center mission, was to not hide from the fun of it, but not either draw our sense of self-worth from it,
Mm-hmm. A pretty incredible thing to be, arguably one of the best, arguably the best dance tracks ever, let alone one of the best tracks ever, across all genres. So does that feel weird? Does it ever seem strange? Have you just gotten used to it over the years? I don't know.
Really I didn't really have much to do with the house stuff. In fact, when we were on MTV, I was the one in the interview going, this isn't even proper music. I sang the slow songs.
Yes.
And I used to just tease them. It wasn't proper music. And if any kind of music that you need a marriage counseling drug to make sound good. It's not a good sign.
So post Faithless, 1999 onwards, talk us through that journey.
Well, me and my friend Duncan had a conversation where we realized we absolutely love the multicultural singers and players, non-pop rock, like the sort of what you would call maybe world music players and singers from Africa, from India, from all over the world, the different extraordinary palette of musical instruments and vocals. And yet we felt all their actual albums were dreadful, because mostly in those developing countries, they didn't have a proper recording studio. But just no one had really made a good album of it, and to really showcase how incredible these artists are. So we wanted to make our own album and have them as featured guests on it, but produce them in a way that was like a really lush, landscapey, Pink Floyd-y, hip-hop-y kind of vibe. So we did this project, One Giant Leap, which took off very quickly. We got a deal with Chris Blackwell, who signed Bob Marley and U2, and wanted to do the album with us, which was wonderful. And because he had a new company for this very new thing back then, which was called DVD. He had this company, Palm Pictures. He said, you can't just do an album, you have to make a film. So as we were setting off around the world for 6 months to do all these recordings, we turned it into film that also included, we would make a film, like a DVD. We make a film for each track on the album. So it was like a 16 film DVD, a 16 track album. And each film would have a philosophical theme that was universal, that you could talk about whether you were in a mud hut in the Congo or a penthouse in LA. God, sex, death, money, time, things anyone can talk about. And we just interviewed everyone from tribal elders to Noam Chomsky to movie stars to famous authors, Kurt Vonnegut, like just brilliant people. Dennis Hopper was in it. Carrie Fisher, just brilliant interviews with all these great people, and songs with Michael Stipe from REM and Alanis Morissette and Robbie Williams, and everyone we could get to do duets with these amazing artists. They weren't exactly duets, and we set off and made this movie, One Giant Leap, that became a little bit of a cult classic, and we got nominated for a couple of Grammys, and we just had a good time. And then we did another one called What About Me that also became among certain people, niche, became a thing that was just much more about the shadow and the collective insanity. And it was starring Eckhart Tolle, who's a really great talker about such things, about the pain body. And that's what we were doing for the noughties.
Was it as fun as it sounds? Because you'd be
it was amazing. And it was also, it was amazing, of course, to go for 6 months through 50 global locations is extraordinary. Wow. But when you're producing and directing and composing and line producing, you can miss some. You're so busy doing it, you can miss the sunset. You can miss the lovely child sitting in the paddy fields. You don't catch it all like you would as if you were a passenger. But it was wonderful to be an artistic passenger, in the sense that you've set up all these sessions, all these interviews, all these journeys. You don't know what you're going to get. You just have to surrender and receive and edit it later. And, just trust that the magic will happen, and have a good attitude and be brave.
Because this led to a TED Talk as well. I think that's the first point I saw on your YouTube.
That's an old talk.
Yeah. How did that come about? Is that,
well, anyone can do a TEDx. TED and TEDx are not the same.
Right.
If you want to do a TEDx talk in Hackney, they just give you, someone was doing one in Lausanne, and they invited me. They're all over the world, those TEDx events.
Right. What you've just described there, where you've been on locations and you're guilty of being too busy not seeing it, that sounds like it is when you're a musician and touring, and you hear a lot of musicians saying we're doing so much promo and playing from city to city that we don't actually get to see anything. We see a hotel room, and we don't actually. Did it have a similar feeling?
No, because it was packed the day. It wasn't promo. It was packed with loading up the van, meeting the person, doing the interview, composing a song. It's much more creative than touring and just doing interviews. It was shooting amazing things, talking to a shepherd, finding our way to Pushkar, going to a temple, recording with Santana. You know, it was very, very beautiful and exciting. It just was so full that you never got a chance to really take stock.
And what was your favourite country, or your favourite moment in that? You've spoke about 50
I think I
different
was
global
most
locations.
touched actually on a personal level when we went to New Zealand and met the Maori people, and you know, they're so kind of deep and like this amazing mixture of warrior and softness and depth, and it was totally unexpected. We were just actually going to go there for a break because my youngest daughter was there. But the artist Michael Franti said, God, you can't miss the Maoris. You know, when you go there, let me hook you up with my friends. And so we suddenly, instead of having a 2-week break, we were having a 2-week by the seat of our pants shoot with all these amazing tribes and their wisdom and their music and their poetry and their art. Yeah, it was totally unexpected and really, really deep and moving.
Fantastic. And you know, staying with the creative side of things, are you currently on any you know, film movie production work at present? Have you?
The main thing I'm working on right now is the teacher training, since I've been doing workshops for creatives and for everyone really, for people that want to tame all the crazy shadow characters in your head and turn them into the helpers they really are, which everyone has the power to do. I've been doing that for about 10 years now and really having amazing results, you know, unexpected results, people's eczema going, or suddenly talking to their children for the first time in years, or, you know, really unexpected results, as well as their projects coming to fruition. I've decided I want to, those games that I've made and those processes, I want to reach as many people as possible. So I'm teaching now a bunch of teachers to teach those games and to make up their own games to go intimate and deep with people. So that's mainly what I'm focusing on this year. It's called Bring It, jamiecatto.com, bring it, /bring it. That's my main thing. There is a movie in the offing at the moment, the third One Giant Leap thing that we're sort of planning, but we're not rushing it.
Is that the Becoming Nobody movie?
Oh yeah, there was the Becoming Nobody movie. That was last year. It was my favorite ever spiritual teacher, called Ram Dass. And I was lucky enough to make sort of Ram Dass the movie, sort of tribute film to his greatest hits. And that was released last year in America, coast to coast in the cinemas, and is now on various platforms for downloading and streaming. It's called Becoming Nobody. It's a very touching film. It's not really about Ram Dass, it's about you. You know, it's about whoever's watching it.
Yeah.
And you touched that up, Phil. You were going.
I was going to say, in amongst all this, there's the book as well.
Insanely Gifted.
Insanely Gifted. Can you sort of summarize the concepts in the book, like because it ties in with your teaching, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's basically that we have all these voices in our head. We've been taught in our lives to shut down our eccentricities, shut down anything that's a bit different, to make ourselves normal and homogenized and not get rejected and shamed and laughed at or whatever. But it's those, you know, so everyone's edited themselves down to this normal shop window brochure of the groomed, I'm fine, I'm normal, I'm not vulnerable, I'm not messy. And it's totally dishonest and the opposite of the intimacy and connection we want in the world, and the opposite of the genius that comes into creative projects. It stunts everything. So I'm very much about sort of very gradually unediting that and going to the crazy voices in the head and all the mess and all the vulnerability and all the full spectrum of being a person, and trying to, open us all more into that, which creates the connection we all want with each other and also makes our creative projects fly and our businesses fly. So I do it in the corporate world. I do it in the creative world. I do it in people's families. You know, it works everywhere.
So it really is like full spectrum when you sort of start, you know, the same message, and when it's in the corporate family environment, the same toolbox, if you like, works in each.
It's the same thing, which is turning towards, very gently and safely and with playfulness, turning towards the very things we're always turning away from.
Yeah.
Taking off the mask little by little.
And I know you ran a course on Saturday, and it was transforming shadows. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think you touched on.
Same concept, exactly that.
Yeah, give us insight into that. I mean, how many? I imagine it's online now. We're all using Zoom. So how was that? How was that different to normal setup? I mean, it's, of course. Do you still feel the same connection? Are you able to deliver it to more people? So
Yeah, it's
where the
different.
connections
Yeah,
are greater?
definitely. Instead of 40, you have more than 100. And it's great. You can stick them all in breakout rooms. But it's amazing when you're on the screen, you know, you can connect. The geography doesn't seem to really matter. It seems to be, just as good. I mean, the main problem with it is you have to keep everyone muted, because otherwise you've got 100 rooms worth of background noise fucking up the mic. And that means that when I make a hilarious joke, you don't hear a roar of laughter from everybody. So that is a limitation. But apart from that, you know, everyone hears it loud and clear. Everyone gets it. They can have a recording of it after, which is also a great benefit. They meet lots of new people from different countries. You know, it's not just people in the locality of where they are. You know, we had people yesterday from nearly every country in Europe I've ever heard of. We had Australia, we had Hawaii, we had Indonesia, as well as England. You know, it's pretty amazing for people to have this cross-cultural conversations. It has a lot of benefits doing it online.
Yeah.
And is this a new way of working, Jamie, or were you working digitally previous to this COVID-19 climate?
I've been doing it a little bit, especially being asked onto other people's events. You know, someone's doing some sort of a breathwork thing or a yoga thing or whatever. They say, will you come on and teach a shadow game? Will you come on and teach a creativity game? But to do it as my central thing at the moment for 2020 is a new thing. And you've got to learn the technology and get the right Zoom package. And yeah, it's good.
And I've been, if you give us a little insight, I know you do weekly groups where you bring people together, creatives in a.
It's just that through COVID, a lot of people are lonely. So we just have a gathering where people can just say hi. It's very hasn't got a Facebook group. We just call it the Lovely Gathering. It doesn't even have capital letters. Just people come on, they sing a song on their guitar, or they say a poem, or read something that meant something to them, or talk about how lovely it is that they've noticed more foxes in their area, or dolphins, or something, you know, just or what they're finding really, really hard.
So, yeah. What are some of the similarities that you're feeling? You know, no matter where people are in the world, you know, positives and negatives, with everybody going through this as a whole collective around the world. What are you experiencing from your audience?
It's very polar. You know, there's everything from people having the best time ever, time to stop, time to rethink about what they want to do with their lives, watching nature regenerate, loving the superfluous shopping, stopping, and one moment. Then there's all the people who are having a super challenging time, who aren't used to not being able to go down the pub or go to see their people at work or go to a yoga class. It's the full spectrum, and everyone comes and shares, you know, and it's wonderful for them to be heard and to have a place where at least once a week everyone is together, and it's kind of a community vibe.
Yeah, that group has started during this crisis. Do you think it needs to continue after the crisis? Do you think you would?
Don't know. We'll do it. We'll see who shows up.
Right. I mean,
it's always been my philosophy.
Yeah. Do you work to like a vision, a goal, a plan, or are you more fluid than that?
Much more fluid. Like, I have an idea, and then I sort of like I take myself through the point of no return. You know, like I book the room. I think of a title for a workshop. I book the room. I invite everyone, and then I've got to better show up with something. You know.
Right. That's how you work. That's how you get going.
Yeah, I don't believe in perfectionism, because it's the genius is what happens outside perfectionism in our relationships and in creativity. It's by like being a passenger and letting it move you, and not having the safety of what might happen. That is where genius comes in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. And the first time we met was on one of your groups, and I said hello and met you, and I gave 3 of my favourite quotes from our guests from the business lockdown, and shared a moment and had everybody close their eyes, and I went through a 3-stage process, which was really cool, really incredible, and so that was how we connected. So it was through one of your forums, and it was a really cool group, and so it's really powerful and really touching. It was. I couldn't make Fridays, but the weeks before there was the lady that sang a song, and she'd never sung a song. She was scared, so nervous, and was talking it up so much. And then he was just like, "Just give it to us. We're not having any more of that. Just give it to us." And she sung a full song. Was it like it was a jazz style song, if I remember rightly? And she gave it her all. And once she got about halfway, a little bit more, you could see she's got in a stride. And everybody, you could just see, 120, 140 people, and you've got the message box as well, where everybody's messaging and showing loads of positivity. Yeah, phenomenal. Those groups, have such an incredible flow to them, with ups and downs and really touching moments, and what people are open to sharing as well, which is super. It's a group I've never experienced.
It's a very no big deal attitude. Everyone has a very no big deal attitude, not like making a big drama out of everything. We're just everyday people, and everyday people have sadness, and they have happiness, and they have vulnerability, and they have mess, and they have magnificence. Everyday people are great. You don't have to put crystals and rainbows on it,
Yeah.
And what does oh, sorry, Phil.
I was going to say, has that group just sort of naturally evolved then?
I just started it one week saying, hey, if anyone's lonely, you want to come online, here's the Zoom link. And we had like 100 people, because that was as much as my Zoom would do.
Yeah.
But then I upgraded the Zoom, and the next week we had like 180 people. And not everyone speaks, but I do encourage people. I say, if you're one of the quiet ones, the world needs to hear from you. We want to hear from you. If you're not used to speaking, try it this time. We want to hear. And many people do, with their voices slightly quavering, but they take their first moment to say something, even if they just say, I don't know what to say, but I'm just coming on to say, this is the first time I've ever spoken, and all that feels like enough. Even if that's all they do, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so get past the point of no return, like you say, and just jump.
Yeah.
And normally we spoke to touch on when we spoke before on a previous session about your retreats, and you almost don't consider them as retreats. You just consider them as workshops overseas or for a long weekend in a different country. What do those long weekends, as you call them, some would call retreats, what do they look like?
Yeah. They're more intimate and deep, obviously, and they're a lot more comfortable, because we're sitting on a beach and someone's bringing us sangria. But they're just like, they're just, when you do it for 4 days, there's obviously a deeper connection, and you get to do more stuff, and everybody gets to know each other better over 4 days and dinners and walks than they do in a 1 or 2 days in a workshop room. It's just a lovely it's all family and entertainment. It goes deep, but I think of self-development as entertainment, not as breaking through our big blocks. I think that's a mistake. I'm all about low-hanging fruit, just turning towards even the most edges, snorkeling around the edges of this stuff without big breakthrough, and actually gets bigger breakthroughs than having a big intention to break through. Just low-hanging fruit, strolling through, laughing with each other, having conversations. You have just as big, if not bigger, aha moments than when you have some big breakthrough agenda.
Interesting. And when you look at your retreats, how does it match people's expectations? Do you have people coming along and thinking it's going to be something completely different, or do they have a fair understanding of what's in store over those 4 days?
No idea.
Or you spoke about being spontaneous. Do you almost have an element of that?
I could answer that question and make something up, but it would be a lie. I've got no idea. I just don't know. They've read the description. I don't do feedback forms afterwards.
Yeah.
So I have no idea. I mean, I get a lot of thank you letters, but the ones that don't write, I don't know. I just show up and be me, and we all be us, and it's very informal and very funny. Most of the time we're laughing at our melodrama, and everyone thinks their melodrama is bigger than everyone else, and then they have a conversation and they realize, God, you too. Everyone realizes the melodrama they were hiding, everyone's going through the same. Everyone's a mess. Everyone's mental. We're all a wise guru in charge of a mental patient, and it becomes obvious the moment you get in a room and everyone's authentic. It just becomes obvious, and all the drama and the stigma vanishes within an hour.
And how much foundation would you say you have in terms of your structure and planning for a retreat, and how much do you feed off what's happening around you with spontaneity? How much do you feed off and
The
think, right, well,
structure is structured. The structure is totally structured. I know we're going to do this game, then we're going to do that game, then we'll have lunch, then I talk about this for a bit, then we do that game. I know what I'm going to do. But within that, there's enough space for it to go left, right, up or down. You know, it's structure and pre-production. I always call magic insurance. It's what you're going to do unless something better happens. That's what all pre-production is. It's your coverage in case nothing unexpected that's better happens. That's what pre-production is. It's what you're going to do. And yeah, if nothing else happens. But if something else better happens, you're flexible.
Yeah, I really love that, because I mean, the norm, right? Whatever, we're in a very different norm right now. If you can call this norm, if you can call anything norm, most people would plan in case something goes wrong, right? Whereas it's like you're planning in case something better happens. I really love that. I've never heard that before. That's fantastic. Insurance. Magic insurance. Yes, I love that. So we'll have to. Do we naturally approach things in that way? Would you say, Phil, without us actually knowing it? I mean, it's almost a bit like right. Yeah, I guess we.
The only way.
Yeah, but I think
is in the space in between.
I think we use a pretty boring word. I think we say pivot. I much prefer magic insurance.
Magic insurance.
It sets you with the right mindset, doesn't it?
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen, you know, in the space in between, in your relationship, in your creative life, in your lovemaking, in a sports event. It all happens in the unexpected space in between, you know, and there is a risk and a vulnerability in that you can't control it. So most people don't dare do it because they may not get the controlled result they want. But if you're willing to let go and risk looking stupid and risk not always getting what you wanted, then you've got the chance for true greatness to come in. And there's no other way to work as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Have you ever felt a friction between the creativity, the creative side, which is obviously right to your core, and the business side? Because obviously the numbers need to add up at some point.
Well, the numbers add up. They add up pretty well. And apart from when they don't. but you stick to your budget. You know, you can be as free and easy as all the ways I've just described and stay in your budget.
Yeah.
You put the space in within the days you've got allocated that are paid for. You know, you're not just free and easy. Like, let's go and, you know, get on a jumbo jet. You know, you don't spend money you don't have.
Yeah. Now, I was just trying to imagine the journey in any creative field. Obviously, a lot of people
the boundaries.
Yeah.
You know, you're traveling around the world, but you know, we've got this amount of money for session musicians. When that's gone, no more session musicians. So be frugal and be sensible. You don't chuck it about willy-nilly. You go with what your heart tells you. Oh, we want to spend 200 quid on that. You know, you spend that 200 quid. You listen to yourself, and when it's gone, it's gone. And you spent it all very consciously and very wisely.
Yeah.
Moment by moment.
And Jamie, tell us about yourself, about looking forward personally. We've spoken to a number of people, and I certainly, one of myself, I need something to aim for, to think, right, I'm going to be in Asia in November. I need to have that. And whether it happens or not, whether it's out of our control at that point is another thing. But I certainly, you know, need something to think, right, I'm going to aim for that. And then I'll work up to that along the journey, and things will happen. Is that part of you? Are you thinking like that? You know, with a personal holiday, with a business retreat, or?
I don't understand what you're asking. Sorry.
So, are you the kind of person looking forward, as uncertain as the future is for us under these unique times? Do you have something that you're looking forward to, that you're aiming towards, or are you just purely taking it on a day-to-day basis right now?
I usually work within 6-month windows. I like to know that there's enough set up that we're not going to starve for 6 months. That's how I try and run it. And, you know, this teacher training I'm doing, Bring It, last 10 months. When you do a One Giant Leap, you know what you're doing for 3 years. It's quite amazing. It's kind of a nice feeling when you've got a budget for a One Giant Leap film, an album, that you can kind of relax. You don't have to plan anything. You know what you're doing now for 3 years. So there's some relief in that. But generally, I work to a 6-month ahead window.
Yeah, and with something like where you say you can relax, surely though, having a budget and a project that size, although you can relax because you've got that on, surely it must bring so many other, positive pressures. Would you say?
Very good. No, I think we've all, and one of the things I teach on What About You, which is my project building masterclass, we've all got to get make our peace with our sphere of influence. You can only control so much. I know that we're in pre-production for 6 months. I'm going to write the best letters and phone calls to everyone I can do. Who says yes is not in my control. Who says no is not in my control. We're going to book all the flights. We're going to go where we go. Who plays well on that day is not in my control. Whether the song comes out good that day is not in my control. Whether they said something incredible in the interview is not in my control. Whether they showed up or cancelled, not in my control. You've really got to be making your peace with what's not in your control, which is nearly everything. So it's relaxing. It's only relaxing
in my control.
if you don't know that. Know your sphere of influence. And like the great teacher Bashar says, reframe the word roadblock. Roadblock is an arrow pointing in an unexpected direction I didn't realize I needed to go in.
I like that. On that note, Jamie, where can people find you?
JamieCatto.com.
JamieCatto.com. It's been an absolute pleasure. Very insightful, mate. Such a creative being and an incredible journey, and one in which we'll look forward to following, moving onwards as we experience these uncertain times and come out at the end of it stronger. So, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Thank you, Jamie.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Business Lockdown.
Please comment, like, share and subscribe to help build our global community.
We look forward to seeing you all soon.